You won't believe what this 10-year-old girl endured in her own home. Her parents saw her as nothing more than a mistake, and her life was a prison of silence and pain. But what she did next will shock you, because even in the darkest shadows, she found a way to fight back, to seek justice, and to reclaim her freedom. In this powerful story, you'll see how resilience and hope can rise from the most unimaginable cruelty. We'll reveal the secret plan that helped her outsmart her family and the moment she finally breaks free, an escape that will leave you inspired. And stay tuned, because the twist at the end will change everything you thought you knew about strength and survival. If you've ever faced your own battles or know someone who has, comment your location below and hit that like button. Let's spread awareness, because no child should ever have to suffer alone. This is a story of hope, courage, and eventual triumph, and you don't want to miss a second. Shadows in the House. My name is Lily. I am 10 years old. I live in a house that feels heavy. Every day is hard. I wish I could run away, but I am trapped. My parents are very strict. They say they love me, but their words are cold. They want me to be a boy. They say girls are mistakes. My parents dream only of having sons. I'm the only girl in the family. Sometimes, I feel like I don't belong. My father is tall and stern. His face is serious all the time. He talks about God and how boys are better. He says I am a mistake because I am a girl. When I hear these words, my heart hurts. I hide my tears. I don't want them to see me cry. My mother is quiet. She looks sad but says nothing. Sometimes she cries when she thinks no one is looking. I wonder if she feels the same pain I do. But she never stops them. She just looks down and keeps quiet. In our house, everything is about rules. No smiling too much. No talking back. No showing feelings. They say I must be perfect. But I am not perfect. I am just me. At night, when everyone is asleep, I get out of bed. I hide a small picture of a bird. It is my favorite. It makes me feel safe. I keep it under my pillow. That little picture is my secret. It reminds me that not everyone is cruel. Sometimes I hear my father pray loudly. He talks about God, but his words sound angry. He says we are sinners. I don't understand everything he says, but I know he is upset. I think he is upset because I am a girl. I wish I had someone to talk to. Sometimes I write little notes and hide them in my closet. I tell my secret hopes. I want to be happy. I want to be loved. But I am afraid. If they find my notes, they will be angry. One day, I saw a new person in our house. She was a kind woman with glasses and soft eyes. She said her name was Miss Clara. She was a therapist. That means she helps children who are sad or hurt. Miss Clara sat with me in a quiet room. She listened carefully. She asked how I felt inside. I told her I felt lonely and scared. I told her I wished someone would help me. She held my hand and said, "You are brave, Lily. You don't have to be afraid." I felt a tiny spark in my chest. Maybe I was not alone. Maybe someone cared. But I was afraid. What if my parents don't like her? What if they get angry? I kept my feelings inside. I didn't know what would happen next. That night, I looked at my small picture of the bird. I thought about flying away. I wanted to escape the shadows in my house. I wanted to find a place where I could be safe and loved. I don't know what the future will bring, but I hope one day I will be free. I hope I will find a place where I am not a mistake. I want to be happy. I want to be me. And for now, I hold on to that hope, because even in the darkest shadows, a tiny light can shine. Maybe someday I will find my way out of the darkness. Maybe someday I will be free. I wake up early in the small, quiet house. The sunlight comes softly through the window. I look at the tiny picture I hide in my pocket. It's a picture of a bird flying in the sky. It makes me feel a little calmer inside. I hold it tight. My parents are still asleep. I hear my father snoring loudly in his room. My mother is quiet, as usual. She sometimes cries alone in her room. I wonder if she feels sad like me. But I know she won't say anything. She never does. I get out of bed very quietly. I don't want to wake them. I walk softly to the small kitchen. I want to do something for myself. I look around. There is no one to stop me. I find a small piece of paper and a pencil in a drawer. I sit at the table and start to draw. I draw the bird from my picture. I draw it flying high in the sky. I draw clouds and the sun. When I finish, I hide the paper in my shirt pocket. It is my secret. It makes me feel like I have a little piece of hope. Later, I hear a knock at the door. It's Miss Clara, my therapist. She is kind and gentle. She comes to visit me sometimes. She always brings a warm smile and a small bag with her. "Good morning, Lily," she says softly. "How are you today?" I look down and whisper, "Okay, I guess." She sits down next to me. "Did you sleep well?" I nod. "Yes, but I woke up early. I wanted to see the bird in my picture again." Miss Clara smiles. "That's a good idea. The bird is a symbol of hope. It can help remind us that we can be free someday." I look at her and feel a little stronger. I want to believe her. I want to believe that someday I can fly away like the bird. Miss Clara gently asks, "Lily, do you want to talk about anything today?" I hesitate. Then I say softly, "I try to be brave, but sometimes I feel very sad inside. I wish I could run away. I wish I could be happy." She takes my hand gently. "It's okay to feel sad. You are brave for telling me your feelings. Remember, you are not alone. I am here to help you." I feel a small warm feeling in my chest. It is strange, but nice. For the first time in a long while, I believe I am not forgotten. I believe I can find some strength inside me. Later that morning, I hide the drawing of the bird in my small bag. I plan to keep it safe. It is my little secret. It makes me feel like I have something special that no one can take away. While I'm playing quietly, I hear my father shouting from the other room. "Where is my shirt? Why isn't it folded right?" My heart beats faster. I hide my feelings. I know he is angry again, but I tell myself, soon I will be free. I will find my way out. I remember the promise I made to myself when I first met Miss Clara. I promised to hold on. I promised to find a way to be happy. I know it might be hard, but I will try. In the afternoon, I sit alone in the corner of the house. I look at my small bird drawing. I whisper, "One day I will fly away. I will find my own sky." I do not know when that day will come, but I believe it will, because inside me there is a tiny spark of hope. It is small, but it is enough to keep me going. As evening falls, I sit quietly in my room. I hold my secret picture close. I close my eyes and think of flying. I think of a world where I am loved and safe. Even when my parents are loud and angry, I feel this little hope inside. It is like the bird in my picture, flying high above the clouds. Tomorrow is a new day. I will try again. I will keep my hope alive no matter what. I am small, but I am strong. I will find my way, and maybe, someday soon, I will be free. I will find my own sky, and I will fly. I woke up in the morning and felt tired. My room was small and quiet. I looked at my little picture of a bird. It was taped to the wall near my bed. The bird had open wings, ready to fly. I never told anyone, but I loved that picture. It made me feel free, even when I was trapped inside the house. Today was just another day with my parents. My father was already downstairs. I could hear him talking loudly about church and how important it was to follow God's rules. My mother was in her room, quiet as usual. Sometimes I wished she would say something kind, but she never did. I got out of bed carefully. I didn't want to wake them up. I had learned to stay quiet so they wouldn't get angry. I pulled on my old dress and tiptoed out of the room. My father was in the kitchen. He was reading the Bible out loud. He was angry about many things, but especially about girls like me. He believed girls should not be important. He wanted only sons. I pretended I didn't hear him. I walked to the small table where I kept my secret. It was a tiny notebook I had hidden from them. Inside, I had drawn pictures and written little notes. Today, I looked at my drawings of the sky and the flying bird. They made me feel calmer, even when everything else was hard. Suddenly, I heard a noise outside. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Green. She was nice. She always said hello and smiled at me. I liked her because she never yelled or called me a mistake. Sometimes, I wished I could tell her about my feelings, but I was scared. I didn't want to get in trouble. I remember what Miss Clara told me. She said, "You are brave. You can keep small secrets until the right time." I held my notebook close and took a deep breath. Maybe someday I could tell someone who would help me. Later that day, my father called me into the living room. His face was serious. He looked at me with cold eyes. "You are a mistake," he said harshly. "God doesn't want girls like you. You are a punishment for our sins." His voice was loud and mean. I felt my stomach turn upside down. I wanted to run away, but I stayed still. My mother was sitting nearby. She looked sad but didn't speak. I knew she was tired of all this, but she never stopped him. I looked at her, hoping she would say something kind, but she just looked down. My father told me I was no good, that I was a burden. He said I should be grateful if I survive. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I had learned to hide my tears. After he left, I sat quietly on the floor. I looked at my bird picture again. I remembered what it meant to me, a symbol of hope. I closed my eyes and imagined I was flying, high above the house and the dark clouds. Later that afternoon, I went to see Miss Clara. I slipped out quietly, making sure no one saw me leave. I was nervous, but I also felt a tiny spark of hope. I knew I would tell her everything soon. Miss Clara listened carefully when I told her about my day. I told her about the bird picture, the mean words, and the scary feelings inside me. She held my hand gently and said, "You are special. No one can take away your hope. You deserve to be loved and safe." I looked at her and nodded. I felt a small part of me start to believe it might be true someday. Maybe I could be free, like the bird in my picture. That night, I lay in my bed and looked at the ceiling. I thought about flying away. Maybe one day I would find a place where people loved me and I was safe. I would keep my picture close and remember that I am not alone. As I closed my eyes, I whispered softly to myself, "I will be brave. I will keep fighting." And in my heart, I felt a tiny, bright hope glowing inside. I woke up early. The house was quiet. I lay in my bed and felt a small hope inside me. I had been thinking about how to get help. I wanted to talk to someone who would listen. That day, I decided to see Miss Clara again. She is the therapist who cares about me. I knew she was someone I could trust. I kept a small note in my pocket, just in case I needed to show her something. It had a picture of a bird flying free. That bird was me, wanting to escape and be happy. I waited until my parents were busy in the kitchen. I slipped out of my room quietly. I went to the little park near our house. It was a quiet place where I could talk without being seen. I sat on a bench and waited for Miss Clara. Soon she arrived. I saw her smiling gently. I felt safe with her. "Hello, Lily," she said softly. "Are you ready to talk today?" I nodded. My voice was small. "Yes, I want to tell you something important." She sat beside me and listened patiently. I took out my note with the flying bird and showed it to her. "I drew this," I said quietly. "It means I want to fly away and be free." Miss Clara looked at my drawing and smiled. "That is a very brave picture," she said. "It shows you hope for a better life." I looked down. "Sometimes I feel very sad and scared. My parents are mean. They say I'm a mistake." She gently took my hand. "Lily, I am here to help you. You are not a mistake. You are special." I felt a tiny warmth in my chest. Maybe I was not alone. Maybe someone cared about me. That day, Miss Clara told me she would help me find a way out. She said she could talk to people who could keep me safe. I felt a small light inside me. Maybe things could get better, but I knew my parents would not like me talking to her. I had to be very careful. Still, I was glad I had someone who believed in me. That night, I looked at my small bird drawing again. I imagined it flying far away, over the clouds and the trees. I closed my eyes and wished for that day to come. I knew I had hope now, and hope is a small spark that can become a big fire. I was starting to believe I could be free someday. Later, I hid my note in my secret box. It was my little treasure, a promise that I would find my way out and find love and happiness. I was scared, but I was also brave. The house was still quiet. In my heart, I had a tiny, strong hope. I didn't know exactly how or when, but I knew I would escape. I would find my own way. I just needed to keep holding on. And so I stayed quiet and brave. I kept my dream alive, of flying free like my little bird. And I waited, knowing that one day I would be safe and loved. That was the start of my fight for my life, and I was ready to keep going. I woke up feeling nervous. Today might be the day I finally do something to change my life. I knew I couldn't stay trapped forever. My parents still didn't see me as a person. They called me a mistake and told me I was wrong to be alive. But I had a small hope inside my heart. I kept a tiny drawing I made of a bird flying high in the sky. It was my symbol of hope. I looked at it every day. I knew one day I would fly away too. That morning, I quietly got out of bed. I knew I had to be careful. My parents were in the next room. They were often in a bad mood, and if they caught me trying to do something, they would hurt me more. I tiptoed to my closet and took out a small bag I had hidden there. Inside, I put my secret notes, the drawing of the bird, and a small piece of bread I had saved. I had been planning this escape for a long time, and today I was going to try. I looked out my window. The sun was shining. For a moment, I felt a little brave. I whispered to myself, "Today is the day." I knew I had to find help. I remembered Miss Clara, my kind therapist. She had listened to me, and I trusted her. I decided I would tell her everything and ask for her help. I waited until my parents were busy in the kitchen. Then, I quietly slipped out of my room and tiptoed down the hallway. I went to the front door. It was locked, but I had a key I kept in my pocket. I slowly unlocked it and stepped outside. The air felt fresh and cold. I took a deep breath and looked around. I saw the neighborhood children playing. I saw a kind lady next door watering her flowers. I felt a tiny spark of hope. My heart was pounding, but I kept going. I didn't want to go far alone. I remembered the phone number of Miss Clara. I didn't know if I could call her myself, but I decided to try. I reached into my pocket and took out my small notebook. I wrote a quick note. "Help me. I want to be safe. Please come soon." I slipped the note into the mailbox, hoping someone would see it. Then I ran to the neighbor's house and knocked on the door. An older lady answered. I looked up at her and whispered, "Please, I need help. My parents are very mean. Can I come stay with you?" She looked surprised, but saw how scared I was. She gently took my hand and said, "Come inside. I will call the police and social workers. You are safe now." Suddenly, I saw a car pull up. It was the police. They had gotten my note. I felt a little scared, but also very relieved. The police officers talked to me kindly. They asked questions about my family. I told them everything I could remember. I told them how my parents called me a mistake and hurt me when I tried to speak up. They listened carefully. Soon, I was taken to a safe place, away from my parents. I felt a big weight lift off my shoulders. I was finally free from their hurtful words and cruel control. I looked at the sky and saw the bird I drew again. It was high and free, flying above the clouds. I smiled a little, feeling hopeful. That day I learned something very important. Even when things are very dark and scary, there is a way to find help. There are kind people who will listen and care. I didn't give up, and I found my way out. Now I was starting a new chapter. A chapter where I could be safe, loved, and free. I knew my journey wasn't over. I still had many fears and tears, but I also knew I was strong enough to keep fighting. I would keep dreaming of the day I could truly fly, just like my bird in the picture. And I believed that someday I would be happy and loved for who I am. Today was a new beginning, and I was ready to take the first step toward my future. I felt nervous as I sat in the small room. It was quiet here, much quieter than my house. I was in a safe place now, away from my parents. I looked around and saw a soft chair and a few toys. I was still scared, but I knew I was finally safe. This was a new beginning. My name is Lily. I am 10 years old. For a long time, I lived with parents who did not love me. They were angry and mean. They wanted a boy, not a girl. They called me a mistake. They said I was bad just because I was born. Sometimes I felt very lonely, but I never gave up hope. Now I am in a new place. The people here help children who have been hurt. They want me to be happy and safe. I have a new friend here, Miss Clara. She is kind and soft. She listens to me and cares about what I say. I like her. She makes me feel safe. One day, Miss Clara sat next to me. She smiled gently and asked, "Lily, how are you feeling today?" I looked down and whispered, "I am scared, but I want to be brave." She nodded. "That's good, Lily. Being brave doesn't mean you are not afraid. It means you keep going, even when you are scared." I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to say how much I heard inside, but I was afraid to speak. I thought maybe she wouldn't believe me, or I would get into trouble. Still, I knew I needed to tell someone. Miss Clara gently took my hand. "Lily, you are very strong. You have already done so much to get help. You are not alone now." I looked at her and felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe things could get better. A few days later, I sat with Miss Clara again. She looked at some papers and then smiled. "Lily, I spoke with some people who can help us. They want to make sure you are safe. We are going to see some special people soon." I felt a little nervous, but also happy. Maybe I would finally be free from the hurt and fear. That afternoon, a kind social worker came to see me. Her name was Mrs. Adams. She was gentle and smiled a lot. She sat down and asked questions. I told her about my home, about my parents, and how I felt. I told her I was afraid of being hurt again. She listened carefully and took notes. Mrs. Adams looked at me with kind eyes. "Lily, I am here to help you. You are safe now. We will find a way for you to be happy." Her words made me feel better. Maybe I could trust her. Maybe I could trust someone again. Later, I saw my parents' house on the street. It looked normal on the outside, with pretty trees and a white fence. But I knew that inside, the house was full of darkness and pain. I remembered the bad words my parents said, and the times they hurt me. I wished I could go back and tell them how much they made me sad, but I knew I could not. Now I was starting a new story, a story of hope and courage. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to find a new family that would love me. I wanted to smile again. That night I drew a picture. It was of a small bird flying high in the sky. The bird was free, flying over green hills and bright blue water. I drew it because I wanted to be like that bird, free and happy. I looked at my drawing and whispered, "One day I will be happy. One day I will be free." The days passed and I learned more about my new world. I met kind people who wanted to help children like me. I started to feel safe, little by little. I still had fears, but I also had hope. I knew that soon everything could change. Every night I kept my small bird drawing close. It reminds me that even in dark times, there is a light. Even in pain, there is hope. I am tired of hurting. I am tired of being alone. But I am also ready to fight for my happiness. Now I am in a new place, with new friends. I am learning to trust again. I am learning that I am not a mistake. I am Lily, and I am important. I deserve love and kindness. I will be brave. I will find my way to happiness. And I know, one day, I will fly very high like my little bird. I will find a place where I belong. I will find love, and I will be free. This is the start of my new life, a life where I am safe, loved, and strong. I will keep dreaming of that day, because I believe deep inside that one day I will be happy, and I will never give up. My heart was pounding as I sat in the small room with the social worker and the police officers. This was the moment I had been waiting for. I knew I had to tell the truth about my family. I took a deep breath and remembered what Miss Clara told me. "Be brave, Lily. Tell what really happened." I looked around. The room was quiet. The people there looked kind, but I was still nervous. I wanted to hide, but I knew I had to be strong. "Tell us what you want us to know," one of the officers said softly. I nodded. Then I took a small piece of paper from my pocket. It was my secret note. I had written it long ago when I was very scared. It had all the things I wanted people to know. I looked at the paper and carefully read out loud. My name is Lily. I am 10 years old. I live with my parents, but they are not kind. They call me a mistake. They hurt me. They say I am a bad girl. I want to be safe. As I spoke, I saw the faces of the officers change. They looked serious. I knew they understood how much I had suffered. The social worker gently asked, "Did your parents hurt you?" I nodded again. Yes, they hurt my feelings and sometimes even my body. I tried to tell someone, but I was scared. I wanted help. Suddenly, I remembered the drawings I had kept hidden in my pocket. They were pictures of a bird flying free. I took one out and showed it to everyone. "This is what I want," I said softly. "I want to fly away from this house and be free." The social worker looked at my drawing and smiled kindly. "Lily, you are very brave. Thank you for telling us the truth." Just then, I saw my parents come into the room. They looked surprised and upset. They tried to hide their faces, but I could see the worry in their eyes. They wanted to keep pretending everything was okay. But I knew the truth was out. The police officers talked quietly among themselves. They said they would help me find a safe place. They told my parents they could not hurt me anymore. My parents looked angry and sad, but I felt a small bit of courage growing inside me. After a while, the officers took me by the hand and said, "Lily, you are very brave. We will take you somewhere safe now. You will be far away from the pain and hurt." I looked at the officer and nodded. I felt a little hope. Maybe now I would be safe. As I left the house, I looked back once. The house was dark and cold. I remembered all the times I felt lonely and afraid. But now I was going to a new place, a place where I could breathe and be happy. I clutched my drawing of the bird close to my chest. I thought about the flying bird. That was me. I was going to fly away and find my freedom. And I promised myself that I would never give up. I would keep hoping and dreaming of a better future. I knew I was strong enough to start a new life. This was the beginning of my new journey. I was finally on my way to being free. And I knew that one day I would find happiness and love that my family never gave me. The end of this chapter, but the start of something new. I was ready to fly. I woke up in a new place. It was quiet and warm. I was in a small room with soft blankets and a gentle sunlight coming through the window. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I looked around and saw a kind woman sitting in a chair nearby. She smiled at me. "Good morning, Lily," she said softly. "My name is Miss Clara. You are safe now." I nodded shyly. I had not spoken much since I left my house. My throat felt tight, and my heart was still heavy with all I had been through. But hearing her voice made me feel a little calmer. Miss Clara came closer. "You did a brave thing," she said. "You are free now. You are safe. You don't have to be afraid anymore." I looked at her. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that I was finally free. But inside, there was still a small, quiet voice that asked, "Will it stay this way? Will I always be safe?" That morning, I learned more about where I was. It was a place where children who had been hurt or scared could find help. People here wanted to listen and help me heal. As I sat on the bed, I remembered the last few days. I remembered how I had planned my escape. I remembered how I had felt when I saw the police come. I remembered how I had felt when I was finally outside that terrible house. Miss Clara gently took my hand. "Lily," she said softly, "you are strong. You are very brave. You made a good choice to get away. Now, you can start to heal." I looked into her kind eyes. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe that I could be happy again. Later that day, a social worker came to see me. She listened carefully as I told her my story. I didn't want to talk too much at first, but I felt safe with her too. She was kind and listened without asking questions that made me feel bad. I learned that I was going to stay here for a while. I would meet other children who also needed help. I would go to school, play, and learn how to trust again. That night, I sat in my small bed. I looked at the picture I kept in my pocket. It was a drawing of a bird flying high in the sky. It was a symbol of hope. I remembered how I had kept the drawing hidden in my little pocket when I was sad. Now, I looked at it and felt a tiny spark of hope inside me. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I knew I had a long way to go. I knew I still felt afraid sometimes. But I also knew I was no longer alone. I had people who cared for me now. I thought about my parents. They were not here anymore. I thought about Miss Clara and the social worker. They wanted to help me. I wanted to believe that I could be happy again someday. As I drifted to sleep, I thought about my future. Maybe one day, I would have a family who loved me. Maybe I would go to school and learn new things. Maybe I would find friends who would listen and care. I whispered softly to myself, I am safe now. I am free. And I felt a little stronger. This was just the beginning. I knew I still had a lot to face. But I also knew I was finally starting a new chapter. A chapter of hope, courage, and love. I sit on a soft chair in a quiet room. It feels strange to be safe after so many years of feeling scared and alone. I look around and see pictures on the wall. I see toys and a cozy blanket on the bed. I take a deep breath and think about how far I have come. It has been a hard journey. Just a short time ago, I was trapped in a house where I was not loved. My parents were angry and cruel. They said I was a mistake. They hurt my feelings every day. I felt small and helpless. I wanted to hide or run away. Sometimes I cried quietly so no one would hear me. But now, I am somewhere safe. I am with kind people who want to help me. I have a new home and new friends. I feel a little bit of hope inside me. Still, I am afraid sometimes. I worry about what will happen next. But I want to believe that I can be happy again. I sit quietly and look at Miss Clara. She is sitting nearby. She is a kind therapist who helped me escape from my parents. She always listens and cares. Today, she is smiling gently at me. Are you feeling okay, Lily? She asks softly. I nod slowly. Yes, I think so. It's just a lot to understand. She nods back. That's okay. It's normal to feel many feelings now. You are safe here. You did very brave things to get away. I looked down at my hands. I was scared. I didn't think I could escape. But I remembered what you told me, that I am strong, that I deserve love and care. Miss Clara smiles. You are very strong, Lily. You showed courage when you needed it most. That is why you are here now. You have a new beginning. I smile a little. I feel a tiny spark of happiness. Maybe I can have a better life. Maybe I can be loved and happy someday. Outside the window, I see birds flying in the sky. I think of the drawings I made of birds when I was lonely. I remember writing notes and hiding little toys for myself. All those small acts of hope helped me find the strength to keep going. Today, I am starting to believe in a new future. A future where I am safe and loved. I know I still have fears, but I also know I am no longer alone. Miss Clara stands up and gently touches my shoulder. Lily, I want you to remember something important. You are not a mistake. You are special. You deserve kindness and happiness. We will help you heal and grow strong. Tears come to my eyes, not tears of sadness, but tears of hope. I wipe them away and nod again. Thank you, Miss Clara. Thank you for helping me. She smiles warmly. You are very brave, Lily, and you have a long, bright future ahead. Remember, you can always talk to me or someone you trust. I take a deep breath and look at her. I feel a little stronger now. I know it will take time to heal all my wounds, but I also know I am on the path to becoming better. Later, I sit in a small garden outside. The sun is shining gently. I hold a small, smooth stone in my hand. I think about all I have been through. I think about the horrible house I left behind. And I think about the future I want to build. I pick up a tiny flower from the ground. It is small but bright, just like me. I smile and say softly, I am still here. I am still fighting. I know I have a long way to go, but I also know I am not alone anymore. I have hope. I have people who care, and I will keep moving forward one small step at a time. As I sit quietly, I feel a gentle breeze. It feels like a hug from the world. It whispers to me that maybe, just maybe I can find happiness, that I can be free, that I can be loved. And with that hope in my heart, I stand up slowly. I am ready to face tomorrow. I am ready to find my new life. This is the start of my new story, a story of hope, courage, and a future full of light. I woke up in a new place. It was quiet here. The room was bright and clean. I looked around slowly. I felt safe for the first time in a long while. Miss Clara sat beside me. She smiled gently. "Good morning, Lily," she said softly. "You did a brave thing." I nodded. My heart still felt a little heavy, but deep inside, I felt a small spark of hope. Maybe I was finally free. I remembered how I got here. After everything that happened at home, the social workers and the police helped me. They listened to my story. They saw the truth behind my parents' lies. It was not easy, but I was finally away from their hurtful words. Miss Clara took my hand. "You are safe now. You are strong," she said. Her words made me feel warm inside. I wanted to trust her completely. That day, I started to tell her how I felt. I told her about my drawings, the little bird I drew, the notes I kept hidden. They were my symbols of hope, my secret treasures. Miss Clara looked at my drawings. She nodded kindly. "These are good," she said. "They show your courage. You are a brave girl." I smiled a little. I still felt nervous, but I knew I was not alone anymore. Later, some new people came to see me. They were kind adults, social workers and teachers. They asked me questions gently. I told them everything I needed to say, about my parents, about feeling hurt, about wanting to be free. They listened carefully. They promised to help me stay safe. They said I would have a new home, where people loved me and cared for me. I felt a tiny smile grow on my face. For the first time, I believed I could be happy again. That night, I looked out the window. The stars shone brightly. I thought about my future. I thought about the bird I drew. It was flying high, free in the sky, just like I wanted to be. I whispered softly, "I want to be happy." I felt the hope inside me grow stronger. In the days that followed, I began to learn about love and kindness. The people caring for me were gentle and patient. They listened to my worries and hugged me when I cried. I remembered what Miss Clara always said, "You are not a mistake. You are special. You deserve love and happiness." I looked at my drawings again. The bird, the notes, the tiny hope in my heart. I knew I was on a path to heal. I still missed my family sometimes, but I knew I had to be brave. I was no longer trapped. I was free to find my own happiness. Now I spend my days learning new things, making new friends, and dreaming of a bright future. I believe that someday I will be truly happy, not because of what I have lost, but because I have found my strength. And that makes me smile, because I know that no matter how dark the shadows were before, the light inside me is much brighter now. I am ready to walk into the future with hope and courage. This is my story, a story of pain, yes, but also of hope and new beginnings. And I believe that everyone can find their own light, even in the darkest times. I am Lily, and I am finally free.